So you have just hired someone and are ready to start working together. But how do we actually make sure that that person that you just hired is going to be exceeding your expectations for years to come, and there are no surprises or poor performance? The answer is onboarding, and that's what I'm going to be covering in this video. In this video, I will give you specific steps that what we are doing in the onboarding process in order to maximize the success of every person that we hire. Subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up if you want to read more of these videos and get new videos every week. All right, so our topic today is onboarding done right. So it's basically about how to handle virtual assistants. So we are mainly talking about here like virtual, meaning that these are people who are working remotely. So we are not meeting these people like face to face, or it's pretty seldom that we would actually meet them. So it's completely different thing in working with someone at the office or then working with remotely, where you maybe you have a video to use, but maybe you don't even have like availability to use video. Maybe you have only audio. So that takes everything to a completely different level. And I'm sure like nowadays quite a few people, I mean, after COVID hit, like, so people are nowadays used to working and communicating remotely. And I mean, we have seen so many people, so many companies struggle with this. And so, I mean, I think most people now understand that getting things, I mean, working as a team remotely is not as easy as you might think. So anyway, so topic is to how to handle virtual assistants, and I'm actually going to be mainly talking about like the culture such as the Philippines, because as you might know, like we have many Philippine virtual assistants, and it's a completely different culture than for example the Finnish culture. So it's completely different how to communicate in different cultures. So even though we are basically building our own company culture, which is what we define, then it's completely different thing when we need to understand like different cultures and so on. And I think this is actually something that you guys need to know right now, as especially as we have just gotten some of you like new virtual assistants. So it's super important that you do this onboarding right, because even if you have the perfect candidate, so if you don't really treat that person well, I mean, it's just not going to work out. And it's not necessarily about the person, it's still about how you actually work. And my personality, I mean, even in Finland, I'm pretty like, my style, communication style is pretty like direct and straight to the point, and like my style would be considered really blunt and maybe even rude in some cultures. But I mean, I'm able to make it work. So even though my style is something that would not necessarily work in such countries as in the Philippines, I mean, still, I mean, I'm able to really work. And I mean, people typically, I mean, my team usually say I'm a good leader, so I mean, I must be doing something right. And one thing is actually what happened to me is like when I got a baby, I started a business at the same time. It kind of like made me even more edge. So I really started because I mean, I didn't have any time to waste. I basically only had business time and then family time, and there was nothing else. So that really kind of made me this, that I mean, I have zero tolerance for BS. I cannot stand it if people waste my time. So it made me even more itchy. And I remember like when we started our business and started getting like people starting building a team and all that stuff. So I mean, I already envisioned what kind of culture I want to have. And I want to have the kind of culture where basically people are not afraid of having debate. So I really like what this General Patton said, that like when everyone agrees, someone isn't thinking. One of my like favorite example was this one bank here in the US is that, I mean, they one person said about their like executive board that, oh man, that, oh my God, I mean, these people are not don't agree on anything. I mean, they are constantly debating on different things, but they have no issues in making decisions, because whenever there was some decision that had to be done, I mean, they were quickly able to find the right decision to do together, even though they had completely different opinions and perspectives on the matter. So even though they didn't agree, they were still able to make decisions. So I always like this approach that, I mean, I want to build a culture where people speak openly and feel confident in order to have debates and criticize and question each other. And I'm actually currently reading this book, No Rules, which talks about the working culture of Netflix. And I mean, I really like the kind of culture what they have there. And it tells you a funny example where they were having some like internal meeting and the CEO was pitching some idea, and then I mean, one of the junior employees, like junior engineer, started like debating like, I mean, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, this is a completely bad idea. So there was like other people who had just joined Netflix were looking at this like, wow, I mean, how can a junior person like criticize the founder and the CEO of the company like this? But at the end, basically the CEO was like, I mean, I love it. I love it that people like question and criticize me, because it makes this builds this healthy communication. Yeah, but anyway, let's get to the point. So, okay, fine. We just hired someone and we think that we have a we found not only, I mean, we had several different candidates, and now we have made the decisions to hire some specific person. So, okay, we have made the agreement and agreed that the person is going to be working for us. But how do we make sure it goes well? Well, I mean, that's why we will have the onboarding. And one thing I also want to emphasize is that, I mean, as the founder, you should really live and breathe your company culture. So, I mean, I can be pretty, I mean, me personally, like what I expect from other people, I mean, I also expect from myself. So if I expect people to be punctual, then I'm going to be punctual as well. Or if I expect people to get things done on time, then I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing as well. So I mean, really, the core values that we have, then I mean, I need to be leading by example and basically be a walking example of the whole culture. So one thing that we need to have for every single person in the company is a scorecard. So what is a scorecard? It basically tells you that, I mean, sure, it talks about their role, about the role and the responsibility and all that jazz, but I mean, it also talks about like, how is the performance evaluated? So how will they know that are they doing a good job or not? Then it also talks about delegation. like when they receive delegation. And I mean, it's already, I mean, I think it was pretty early when I created this document called like Delegation SOP, and we have also shared it and taught to you. But basically, it's a really important document. It's probably one of the most important documents we have in our company, because people need to know how to receive delegation and how they should be delegating. And the scorecard also emphasizes different like characteristics or the behaviors that they should have. For example, just asking questions, and what is the process on delivering on time. So basically, the scorecard doesn't only tell you about the role and responsibilities that the person has, but also different things that are expected from the person, like following rules. Okay, what does that mean? So we basically need to be more specific on those. And then work time. So I mean, we have been known to always emphasize that, I mean, we don't really care, like, do people use like, I don't know, 1 hour to get this task done, or like 4 hours? I mean, we don't care, like, do they really work? Does everyone really work 8 hours per day? Or because we are much more focused on the end result, meaning that we want people to get things done on time. But that being said, there still needs to be some kind of office hours. And why is that? I mean, when we have like different kind of huddles, like daily huddles, or different kind of meetings, calls, I mean, it's a big problem if people don't show up. I mean, if they are not there on time. So, I mean, that's why we need to have some kind of agreed office hours where everyone is available at that time. And one thing to agree is also, this is really critical. I mean, agreeing the rules for responsiveness. And what we have in our company is that we basically have a 2-hour window, which means that when I send you a message on Slack, you have maximum 2 hours to reply anytime. I mean, it's basically tied to these office hours, meaning that, let's say that we have agreed that, okay, fine, the office hours are like, and office hours, by the way, means that we can set any meetings during the office hours. So, I mean, you are expected to be there at those office hours, even though we don't really expect you necessarily to be online working on your computer like from 9 to 5 or a certain amount of time. But I mean, office hours are still there. But anyway, so the responsiveness means that, okay, if you get a message, then you have to reply by within 2 hours. But how does it actually work together with office hours? Well, it typically means that, okay, let's say that I send you a message like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. So it's clearly outside the office hours. So then what this means is that, okay, fine, on the next day, you have like basically those 2 hours to reply to my message. So, I mean, I would say, I mean, this is really, really flexible. It's not 2 minutes, it's 2-hour window. So, yeah, I mean, we don't care about the working hours, but we do care about the working times, just for the sake of communication and availability for different meetings. And I mean, there has to be some kind of ways to agree about, okay, if I'm sick, okay, how do I notify someone? I mean, what happens there? And even though it has the word policy there, it doesn't mean that it will be some heavyweight process. No, it's just basically agreeing on, okay, what happens if I need time off when I'm sick? And on Netflix, they basically have reduced all different kind of policies. For example, they don't even have a vacation policy. So you can basically go to a vacation whenever you want, but I mean, still you're expected to get things done. So they have this kind of like driving thing that do whatever is in Netflix best interest. And if you do something that is not actually in Netflix best interest, then I mean, then that's going to be a problem. So I mean, vacation and all those stuff. So yeah, even though, let's say that you decide to do same thing as Netflix, but the problem is that, first of all, you are always working remotely, and if you have never even thought about this vacation stuff, then I mean, it's gonna be a problem. And when you're on board someone, that's actually the best time to be most strict, because during onboarding you set the expectations for the behavior, and let's say that there will be issues at a later on, then I mean, it's gonna be more complicated to start introducing new policies or new rules or whatever. But I mean, or being more strict later on. It's much easier, like when a new person joins, that you're immediately at that point you're really strict about at making sure that the person understands all these different rules that there are. So meetings. So I mean, it currently includes these recurring meetings like daily huddle, weekly planning, review session, different retrospectives and whatever. And the structure and purpose of each meeting. So people really need to understand that, okay, so I need to attend daily huddle, but why? Why do I need to attend daily huddle? And okay, do I need to actually prepare something when I come to this meeting? It has to be crystal clear. Then also the communication style. And I think one key point is that when we build a company and when we build a company culture, we don't want it to tailor every single, we don't want it to tailor the nationalities. Like, let's say we have people from Finland, from US, from Venezuela, from China, from Germany, from Philippines, from Thailand. And I mean, if you're going to tailor for every single culture, I mean, it's going to be pretty messy. So it's much more about that people have to adapt to the company culture and not the other way around. For example, let's say that, Philippines, they're used to not speaking out term, talking about the issues if they have an issue. Maybe they are used to suffering in silence. So is that kind of behavior accepted in the company culture as well? No way, because it's going to cause like huge problems if we allow that kind of behavior in the company culture. So we don't adapt the company culture to any specific culture. No, I mean, when you join our company, you are, as a person, I mean, you need to adapt to our company culture and not the other way around. So that's why we established these core values. And I recommend that, don't have more than 5 core values. And if you're just starting out, if you don't have any core values, then okay, fine. Just copy the ones that we have. So we have 5 different values that we see as important, and we actually haven't changed those through the years. Like when we started adding these, like during the first 2 years, we kept like rephrasing those, and together with Victor and together with like other people. So our team. So we basically, it wasn't just me alone writing the core values. No, and it wasn't either. First Victor and I together wrote core values, and then we also included other, like our team members, to the discussion as well, to really like refine the each core value. But then basically, like when we started talking about those every single day, then it basically evolved to its current states. And I mean, they have been the same pretty much for, I don't know, 4 years or something like this. So I mean, ask yourselves that, what do you want your company to stand for? And again, I mean, don't make this so complicated. If you really have no idea, then fine. I mean, you can copy our core values and then basically use that as the like starting ground, and then just keep improving those until you kind of find your own set of core values that you want your company to stand for. And you, as the founder, I mean, you're the one who defines the company culture, nobody else. But key thing here is that culture cannot really be created, because it's not something that, okay, you just create it, you set it and forget it. No, it's something that actually evolves, and it's something that you have to kind of steer its direction. And it's also something that you really need to like cherish and keep good care of, because I mean, people either, and that includes you, your business partner, your team members, everyone in the company either improve or diminish the culture. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, has a neutral impact, because you're either making the company culture better or worse. I mean, it really is that black and white. And I mean, Victor and I have been talking about this responsibility process for, I don't know, like 8 years or whatever. And like this is so important that it's basically one of our core values. So we have a core value naming like, okay, take responsibility, and using this responsibility process developed by Christopher Avery, then this basically teaches people how to take responsibility. So on the left, we have different stages that can happen before taking responsibility, meaning obligation, so doing what you should or have to instead of what you actually want. And giving or quit means that, okay, you just give up to avoid the pain of shame and burden of obligation. And shame means that you actually lay the blame onto your oneself, and which often is felt as guilt, or then justified. Come on, it's not a big deal. I screwed up, but I mean, come on, it didn't cost that much money, right? So you find excuses for things being the way they are, or lay blame outside yourself, and or basically denial that you ignore the whole issue. And I can tell you that if you really take responsibility for everything in your life, then oh my God, it will have a huge transformation on your life, and your life will feel just so much better. And that means that, I mean, basically I typically don't do any blaming. And let's say that the airline loses my luggage, I'm not going to be like blaming and crying about it. No, it's more sort of, okay, it's more like, okay, fine, you lost my luggage, then what can we do to basically find my luggage so I actually get my luggage back? Yes, and I mean, this delegation process, so I created this SOP already like many years for it. And I think on our channel, I made a whole video about it, explaining it further. But anyways, it tells you how to receive delegation and how to delegate. So it's a two-way street. And one key thing here is that, I mean, not asking questions if you don't understand anything is not allowed. And deadlines, they are really deadlines. You cannot show up and say that, yeah, I didn't do it because, yeah, I mean, I had this and that issue, so I just didn't get it done on time. And done is always better than, I mean, getting it done is always better than perfect, meaning that I don't want you to make the decisions that alone that, yeah, I'm just going to give myself like 5 more days to complete it. So it's really, really, really good. No, I mean, you should get it done on time, and fine, if it's not good, then I mean, that's better than actually not having it ready. So, I mean, there's always like in our company culture, we expect this continuous improvement. So you should focus on getting things done instead of trying to get things perfect. But key thing that I really want to emphasize is that, so here, I mean, on the SOP, I really, I mean, there's this specific process how to delegate, but you have now you have team members, so you actually have people who you can delegate to, and as a founder, at least I don't know about you, but I don't want to burden myself with obligations. Instead, I want to make my team responsible to receive the delegation properly, which means that I might delegate. I might actually, often I'm not actually following the delegation SOP, meaning how I'm delegating to people, because I expect my team to receive the delegation properly. So I might even like delegate stuff. I do it every day pretty much. I delegate stuff during calls, like Skype calls, or I might delegate stuff during on Slack. I mean, just sending messages to people. So and then I expect that if my team member doesn't understand my my task that I delegated, then I expect them to ask me questions about it, not the other way around, because I do not want any kind of like obligations on myself, because I mean, I'm the founder, and I need to be focusing on having ideas and really like freeing my time from any kind of obligations, because I want to delegate the obligations. I don't want to have more obligations to me. So that's what I want. I expect my team members to be really good at asking or basically figuring out what is it that I want them to do. Yeah. And I mean, since we have this weekly planning and all this stuff, then I mean, learning to write SMART goals is really an essential skill, because you might be following the whole system of weekly planning and doing OKRs and stuff, but I mean, if your goals are nonsense, then I mean, it's just a waste of time. So it's really essential in learning to do good kind of good goals. And then on the onboarding, you also specify different kind of stuff regarding the project management. So, I mean, whatever tool you are using, Asana, Trello, I mean, you need to have training for that, so that people understand that, okay, how am I supposed to work with tasks? How am I supposed to work with projects? What's the different hierarchy regarding projects and tasks? And prioritization and those kind of things. So it's basically basic project management, or not really even project management. It's more like task management things that people need to understand. Also, it's good to emphasize that what is the way to get fired? So when we hire someone, I mean, or actually when we have some people, when we have team members, it should be crystal clear for them that what is the way they can get fired from their role. I mean, it should be really clear for them. So we also can tell examples, okay, what not to do and how to actually fail in your role. And I think like the most common thing is that, yeah, I mean, it usually comes back down to like not really asking questions. Like if you mess up something, or I mean, you are suffering in silence, I mean, those are really, probably the most common things to fail. But anyway, I mean, fine. We have a new person and the onboarding is now complete. So but how do we know if they really get it? How do we know that if they really understood everything that we went through in onboarding? That is why we have an onboarding exam. So once onboarding is complete, we have an exam in making sure that the person really understands all these things that we are covering in the onboarding process. So just like you have exams for the person when you hire a person, or actually before you hire the person, then you also need to have an exam for the person after onboarding, or actually it's part of the onboarding. So at the end of the onboarding, there's just an exam to go through, making sure the person really understood everything. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about great leadership. What is great leadership? I mean, typically comes down to, okay, clarity. So there's different clarity on expectations. So let's say I'm a new employee. So when I join a new company, like I know what is being expected from me. And I remember reading some statistics that was it probably like more than half of the people that show up to work every day and this was basically in US law, like more than half of the people showing up to work every day do not know what is being expected from them. That's pretty crazy. Like, come on, like more than half majority of the people don't know what is being expected. So clarity is absolutely essential, and then also accountability. So I mean, it needs to be clear whether I do a good job or not so good job. And if I have deadlines, if I have a task that I should finish by Friday, I mean, there needs to be some accountability, making sure that I actually get it done on time. But let's say that I know what is being expected from me, and I'm presenting every week on Friday all the stuff that I'm doing. But maybe I'm not doing a good job. But if you're not telling me that, then it's not good leadership. So communication has to be really good, and giving feedback on people and those kind of things. So it really comes down to this clarity, accountability, and communication. All right, so Victor actually has some tips regarding working with VAs and working specifically with Philippine VAs. So let's see what he has. And if you remember, like I said in the beginning, I don't want people who agree with me. I don't like yes people. So that also means that often with Victor, we don't agree on things. We actually have disagreements, which is actually good for the companies. It's good for the business partnership. Because, I mean, like I talked last time about how to build business partnerships the right way. If you're really following the process, then, I mean, you have no issues in having debates. You have no issues in having disagreements. So you can actually be like the executive team of, like I mentioned about Wells Fargo. Like they were having disagreements, debating all the time, but they had no issues in making debates. But anyway, let's see what Victor has, what tips he has, and let's see, do I agree or not? Okay, so Victor's saying, remember, you're the culture builder. If you allow that attitude or behaviors, then you basically say it's okay to act with me like this. Yes, absolutely. You lead by example, and you should live and breathe the company culture. Yes, 100%. Then he's saying only praise them when they completed things or wowed you. Yeah, I mean, definitely from me as well. I mean, you will not get A for effort from me. I mean, you have to do a really good job. When I say that, okay, good job, great job, and that has the good impact, that then it also means something for people, because I'm not telling them every day that good job, nice good that you showed up today for our call. No. I mean, I will say good job if you actually do a good job. Okay, then do not accept excuses after not meeting a deadline. Make sure they know that this type of behavior is not accepted. If they cannot deliver, they are supposed to speak up before the deadline falls. Typically, there are all sorts of excuses like family illness. Yeah. Like I mentioned, deadlines are deadlines. And part of the SOP, I mean, delegation SOP is that if you have issues, then you need to speak up. If there's even a tiny chance that you are not meeting the deadline, then you need to speak up, like at least in the daily huddle. And if you follow the responsibility process, you're not going to blame situation. You're not going to blame external situations like, yeah, my grandma was sick, so, or my nephew had to go to the airport, so I had to drive him, so it took me all day. Yeah. Then he's saying, never be soft with them. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have been called as very strict, so I guess I will agree. Then just neutral with no friendship. I don't know. I mean, I'm usually pretty friendly, but again, I mean, I'm not looking to have any friends. I mean, I'm looking for people who actually do a good job in getting things done. So that I'm not looking to be anyone's friend. Then let's see what else. Make sure you both know and use the delegation process all the time. No delegation on Skype or chat boxes ever. This way work is in the work area and communication happens inside these projects. Yes. Well, like I just said previously, like I am actually doing this delegation on voice or Skype or chat like often, pretty much every day. But because I have made the obligation, I have moved the obligation from my side to my team, then it's not really a problem because I expect them to, like, let's say that we are on a call and I tell that, hey, Crystal, you should do this stuff. I mean, I want you to do this by tomorrow. Then immediately she's going to write a task on Asana or, I mean, make a note of it. So she will actually get it done. And usually, I mean, I actually often give some vague things because it's often the case that I don't even know what I want. And do I want to spend 30 minutes figuring out what I want? Or do I actually want someone else to figure it out on my behalf? Of course, I mean, I want to have free time, so I'm not going to spend like 30 minutes writing down like requirements or figuring out what I really want. No, I mean, I want, let's say that Crystal like starts working on the task and then asks like me clarifying questions when she doesn't understand something. That's the way I want to work. I want to work with responsible people who really who take the responsibility and really ownership of the task. So even though, let's say that I give them like kind of like crappy, I do like crappy delegation, like my task doesn't make any sense. It's completely vague. It's not like it doesn't make sense. Then the ownership, Crystal has the ownership on actually figuring out that, okay, what is it that Tony actually wants to get done? Like, what is the end result? So then she figures it out by asking me clarifying questions instead of the other way that I spend like 30 minutes writing requirements and so on. But yeah, so make clear agreements, projects, and if they are not met by time, make sure you find out so you can avoid this mistake later. Absolutely. When you start a meeting, do not go straight to work topics. Filipinos hate that. They love chit chat at the beginning, asking about them, about their family, weather, news. They need to loosen up before they can properly talk. Yes, and I mean, I would say that this applies in general to human beings. Even though, I mean, even for me as a Finn and as a like really like direct and straight to the point kind of guy. I mean, even for me, it's fine to, in the beginning of a call, just chit chat. And typically, I mean, I also know this with my teams that they actually like it when I share stuff about my own family, or I mean, about my own personal life. Like, yeah, I mean, over the weekend I was doing this and that, and yeah, I had this kind of thing happening, and so typically, I mean, human beings want to work with other human beings. So if you're just an ice cold robot, then there would actually be less loyalty and less like less kind of like yeah, it's basically there's going to be less of loyalty towards you. People will definitely like you less if you have no feelings, and if you always talk about work and nothing else. And actually, I remember one professor here at the school in California said he gave a really good example, because he was saying that I mean, he used to work at Home Depot and work with like executives and managers over there, and usually they're people who worked, I mean, who got the worst results as executives were the ones who were kind of like, they were afraid to even to meet their people working for them. I mean, they were afraid in meeting their departments and team members and so on, because they were only able to talk about work and nothing else. And you can imagine, like, if you have a boss who only talks about work and never talks about personal life, then I mean, you're not going to like that person as much as you would like if it was actually like a human being. So that's definitely true. This is an interesting one. Victor saying, like, never reveal or show your weaknesses. They think you're a strong leader and this is how it is supposed to be. Do not blame, justify, tell them about your sad life or how sick you are or anything. Actually, best is when you don't talk about you much at all. Don't become friends. Well, I mean, like I mentioned, I'm not really looking for friends, but I still, I mean, I share stuff about my personal life, and like, absolutely. We usually have a pretty like fun atmosphere. And it was funny, like I was talking with Victor and I was telling him, I mean, typically it's good for a leader to show vulnerability. So it's not going to hurt you as a leader. It's actually going to make you kind of like better leader if you actually show your weakness. And then Victor told me, but come on, dude, I mean, you never show any kind of weaknesses or vulnerability. And then I was like, to say, well, yeah, I guess that's a good point. And yeah, I mean, this time about weekly planning and daily planning, which is even more important, so they know deadlines, can create small 30-minute actions and can prioritize these actions every morning. I mean, absolutely, this is spot on. And some stereotypes, I mean, it's kind of silly to talk about stereotypes and different kind of culture, but I mean, there is this, if you take like the norm person from each culture, like the average person, we are going to see different behaviors. And here's actually some things about Philippine cultures. So Filipinos do not take rude words or the bad tone of your voice really well. They can be fragile in this sense, who most likely will disappear after this from your company or simply hate you until they leave. I mean, it is true that in actually many Asian countries that the fear of losing a face is such strong that you cannot really be direct. But I mean, like I mentioned, that I mean, I only care about like the company culture. I don't care which nationality you're coming from. So that means that I build the kind of culture that I want, and you as an employee are the one who adapts to the company culture, and not the other way around. So I'm actually really blunt and straight to the point. And like if people behave in such ways that I don't like, I mean, I will tell that. And okay, let's say, and if you humiliate or tell them things in front of other people, then this is a huge disappointment for them, since their biggest problem is losing a face. And we actually had a case where we had people, I mean, in the end, I mean, clearly they were not a good fit for a culture, but we didn't really figure out it yet. But anyway, so we had one person who we had hired, and he worked closely with Victor. And there was one event that Victor sent this message on Slack, like public channel, and I remember like the guy, our previous former employee, said that it was the most humiliating experience that he has ever had in his life. Yeah. So I mean, for many people, it can be like this. So if you like publicly talk about their mistakes, they find it really humiliating. But I mean, I don't want those kind of people in my company. So I mean, in that sense, it was just a good thing that basically this happened, and we got like rid of those kind of people, because I want to have like open kind of culture where people are not afraid of telling. I mean, even criticizing other people, like publicly. Like I mean, I don't mind. I actually like it if people criticize me publicly. There's not a problem there. And actually, last thing about this is that, I mean, yeah, I actually remember like one person that it was a different person, our former employee. I mean, he didn't really work with me like personally, but I mean, he saw some of the way like I had been communicating with some people, and of course saw my messages on Slack, and he basically said that, I mean, my communication style is or I think he said something like, oh, it's a disgrace, or it's like you cannot communicate like this way. But I mean, those are the people that you just don't want in your company. So I am picky about who we actually choose as our employees. So you are the one who decide what kind of company culture you want to have. But bottom line is that your team should give you more time. Absolutely, 100%. And if you have a team and you don't have freedom, then you are doing it wrong. If you actually find yourself in a place where, okay, I've just hired some X amount of people, and but damn, I have actually even less time than I had before hiring them, then I mean, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing it the right way, because the right way gives you freedom. That's pretty easy way how to measure it. So bottom line is that after you hire people and after you onboard them, do a good job, then just enjoy the free time. That pretty much sums it up.
Hit a thumbs up if you like this video and would like to get more of this. And make sure to subscribe to the channel to get new tips every week. If you need help in building your online business or building your team and setting up all the systems and your company culture, then make sure to join my free Facebook group. And make sure to actually tag me so we can have a discussion and see if we are good at working together. See you there.